Hi, my name is Jennifer. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm counting down my top 10 favourite reads of the year so far. So this is not the top 10 books that have been published in 2025 because I'm not sure if any of these have. Maybe, I'm not sure. Anyway, this is just my top 10 favourite books that I have read in 2025. Okay, so in at number 10 is Black Sheep by Rachel Harrison. This is a really entertaining horror story about a young woman called Vesper who has been estranged from her family for some time, and they have wanted nothing to do with her, but one day she gets this invite to her cousin's wedding out of the blue, so she ends up going back to visit her family, and we get family secrets coming out. This was so much fun. I really enjoy Rachel Harrison, all the books of hers I've read so far, and this was just a wild time. At number 9 is another horror novel. This is Patricia Wants to Cuddle by Samantha Allen. This is a horror sort of reality TV show satire following the filming of a TV show called The Catch, which is a bit like The Bachelor. So the book opens up when we are down to the final 4. So there's 4 women all competing for the affections of this one man, The Catch. It's set on a remote island, and weird things start to happen. It is a lot of fun and it's very queer. In at number 8 is The Gold Mask by Edogawa Rampo. This was first published in 1930 and is translated from Japanese by William Vartaresian. So The Gold Mask is an episodic sort of adventure mystery following the character of the Gold Mask, who is sort of terrorising Tokyo with his crime spree. He disguises himself, as you might guess, in a gold mask. I feel like, I don't know if I just imagined this, if he was in a gold cape as well, or if that's a step too far, but that's how I picture him. So obviously no one knows who the identity of the Gold Mask is. It was originally told serially, so it does read episodic. We get a lot of action. Each chapter sort of ends on a bit of a cliffhanger, and the Gold Mask is sort of a master at getting himself out of seemingly impossible situations. I thought it was a lot of fun, thoroughly entertaining, and it's also in conversation with Western crime fiction in a really interesting way. I have also read another book by Edogawa Rampo this year, which is called Beast in the Shadows. I decided to just put one in the top 10, but Beast in the Shadows is also an excellent read. At number 7 is more horror, actually. There is some non-horror on this list. But at number 7 is Woodworm by Layla Martinez. This is translated from Spanish by Sophie Hughes and Annie McDermott. This is a very strange little horror novel set around this haunted house, narrated by 2 generations of women. So we have a grandmother and a granddaughter. It's told in sort of a confessional style narrative, as we start to learn like family secrets and things, and the narrative, it's also called into question in terms of what we can believe, who is telling the truth. It's weird, it is disturbing, there is some dark stuff in there. It looks at family secrets, trauma and class. At number 6 is I Married a Dead Man by Cornell Woolrich. This is a psychological thriller, first published in 1948, following a young woman called Helen who is involved in a train crash, and she wakes up in hospital, and she soon realises that the hospital staff have assumed that she is someone who she is not. They have assumed she is someone else who was involved in this crash, and she decides to just go along with it, and she ends up, when she's discharged from hospital, living this woman's life. But will the past catch up with her? I thought it was really entertaining, a real page turner, and I would recommend it for fans of Patricia Highsmith. At number 5 is The Intoxicating Mr Lavell by Neil Blackmore. This is set in the 18th century, following brothers Benjamin and Edgar as they embark on a grand tour of Europe. The brothers are very different. So Edgar is wants to sort of get in with all the wealthy people that they meet on this grand tour, whereas Benjamin meets Mr Lavell and becomes enamoured by him. I thought this book was really captivating, engrossing and moving, and I loved it, of course. At number 4, a book I do own, He Who Whispers by Dickson Carr. This was first published in 1946 and follows Detective Dr. Gideon Fell. So Dickson Carr is the master of the locked room mystery. In this one, our main character Miles is invited to a meeting of the Murder Club in London. And the Murder Club is a very exclusive group of people who meet up to discuss crimes that have happened in the past, sort of unusual or particularly horrific crimes. So he's invited and attends this meeting of the Murder Club, and there he hears the story of a sort of impossible crime which took place in Paris a few years ago, whereby a man was murdered at the top of a tower. There was only one staircase up to the top of the tower, and that staircase was under watch the whole time that the man was up there, so a seemingly impossible murder. And then, due to various things that then happen in Miles's personal life, he becomes embroiled in trying to sort of solve this historic crime, and it has sort of repercussions for the present day. I love Dickson Carr, and this one for me was just such a perfect murder mystery, entertaining, and just really, really enjoyable. Really well plotted as well. Into the top 3. So, at number 3 is The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. This is a thriller set at a summer camp in 1975, following the disappearance of a 13-year-old girl. And several years prior to this girl's disappearance, her older brother went missing at the same summer camp. So we follow perspectives of various characters involved. So we have other children who were at the camp who knew the girl who's disappeared. We have like the owners of the camp, investigators, etc. And we sort of slowly piece together what's happened across the 2 timelines to these siblings, and sort of what's going on behind the scenes at this camp. I thought it was really, really quite a page turner and a very engrossing read. Number 2 is The Hierarchies by Ros Anderson. This is a near-future dystopia following Sylvie, who is a synthetic woman who has been created exactly to her husband's specifications. So she's AI. She lives with her husband, who has created or has asked for her to be created for him. And her husband has a human wife and family as well. And it's narrated by Sylvie, and Sylvie has the ability to learn, and as she starts to grow and develop, she starts to wonder if this is all there is to life, and we go from there. It's a very feminist novel looking at the implications of AI, and it does go some dark places, but it throws up some really, really interesting topics of conversation. At number 1, a book I do own. This is Swanna in Love by Jennifer Belle. This is actually the only book so far this year I've given 5 stars, apart from a couple of rereads. So this is a coming of age story set in 1982, and we are following 14-year-old Swanna. She has just finished at summer camp, and her mother seemingly has forgotten about her, but eventually picks her up from summer camp in this van along with her new younger boyfriend. And Swanna's little brother, and Swanna and her little brother are taken by the mother to live at this like artists commune. Swanna really does not want to be there. She wants to go back home to New York, and children are not welcome at this commune, so Swanna and her little brother end up having to sleep in the van, and Swanna clearly feels, rightly so, quite I guess unwanted really by her mother, who's got this new younger boyfriend. And Swanna ends up meeting this older married man and sort of kind of embarking on a relationship with him, which obviously we as the reader can see it's not a relationship. We can see it's something very different to that. But I love this book because I loved the character of Swanna. She has such a bold voice. She's very, very funny. The book goes some dark places, but I thought the tone throughout was so well done, balancing those sort of more darker issues with the humour, and honestly I just thought this was such a wonderful sort of coming of age story. I absolutely loved it. So those are my top 10 reads of the year so far. Do let me know if you've read any of them and what you thought, and let me know what your favourite read of 2025 so far has been. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll speak to you again very soon. Bye.